Welcome back to our series of 120 Agile practice questions. I'm Andrew Ramdial. I am the author of Amazon's best-selling PMP study guide, and I've taught over 600,000 students to pass their exam. Now, in this series, we're going to be doing questions 41 to 60. These questions are part of my PMI-ACP course. You can get the link for that in the description. But you can also utilize them for your PMP, since PMP also includes Agile. If you appreciate content like this, it would really help us out if you can subscribe to the channel, give the video a like, and let's get started on these questions. Question: a team transitioning to Agile expressed concerns about reducing the amount of documentation produced during development. They used to create a detailed plan, specs, approval, workflows before writing any codes. The Agile project manager wants the team to adapt more value-added mindset. What should the Agile project manager do? Advise the team to eliminate documentation entirely and focus only on coding. All right. Instruct the team to postpone development until all paperwork and detailed requirements are completed. Emphasize the documentation is a higher priority than product delivery because it ensures traceability. Explain that Agile values work in software over comprehensive documentation and encourages creating only necessarily timely documentation. To get this one correct, you're going to have to make sure you understand your Agile principles and values. And this is one of the main Agile values, is we value work in software. We don't want heavy-duty documentation that just delays work or may just be unnecessary. So we don't want to advise them to eliminate. You don't want no documentation, which is A. Instruct the team to postpone development. No, we do development first. Emphasize and documentation is not a higher priority than work in software, making D the best answer on this one. Question: during a sprint, a development team finishes implementing a new feature and shares it with stakeholders for feedback. They collect comments, analyze what worked, and identify areas for improvement. What phase of the Agile cycle are they in? So you got to know the Agile cycle of improvement here. So you notice that the team here, development finishes, implementing new features, and shares it. What they do is they're collecting comments, analyze what worked, and identifying areas for improvement. So what are they doing? Well, they're evaluating what happened and what went wrong and how they can fix it. They're not planning. That's planning of how they plan to do it. Now they're just evaluating it. Then they're going to have to learn what went right, what went wrong, and then develop plans to improve it. They're not doing that yet. They're just identifying areas for improvement. And identifying areas is B, the evaluate stage of that cycle. Question: an Agile team wants to reduce waiting times and eliminate unnecessary steps in the current product delivery process. They begin by mapping out the flow of activities and identifying points of delay or non-value-added work. Then they create a network diagram showing their ideal process flow. What tool is the team using to drive this improvement effort? Process control chart, burn-up chart, value-based prioritization matrix, or value stream map. Best answer here, guys, is going to be a value stream map. Now, we did cover this, and in the value stream map, basically you map out all of the things you do when you're completing a particular task or a particular work type schedule. And what you're doing is you're identifying where there's efficiency you can increase, decrease work, where you can decrease time in particular. So that'll be the value stream map. A burn-up chart and burn-down charts would show work that has been done versus work that is left to be finished, or how much work that was done versus how much work is remaining to be done. Process control chart. Now, this tells you whether a process is in control, and this utilizes things such as upper limits and lower limits to see if a process is in control. This is nothing that deals with this here. And they're not prioritizing any kind of features here, making D the best answer. An Agile team delivers an increment at the end of the iteration and shares it with stakeholders for feedback. The stakeholder provide valuable suggestions that can enhance the product, but the team is unsure whether to act immediately or wait until the next planning stage. What should the Agile practitioner recommend? So let's go through this question here. It says that they provide valuable suggestions that could enhance the product, but the team is not sure what to do with this. What should you recommend? Proceed with implementing the changes immediately to show responsiveness. Ignore the feedback for now and revise it in a product roadmap. Evaluate the feedback and incorporate it into the backlog for prioritization. Ask the stakeholders to submit formal change requests before considering their input. Best answer here, guys, is going to be C. Now, I want to point out something, that the question says, what should you recommend? It's not what should you do. You shouldn't do C. You should recommend C, is why C is correct. The Agile, the Scrum Master, the Agile Project Manager shouldn't be incorporating things into the product backlog. That's the product owner or the stakeholder, the customers. So what should you recommend? You should recommend that they evaluate the feedback and incorporate it into the product backlog. So if you got this one wrong, you got to read it carefully. They're not asking what you should do. It's what you should recommend. You shouldn't just put the changes immediately in. That's something for the product owner. Ignore the feedback for now and revise it in the product roadmap. No, never. Anytime you get a question where it's like ignore something, it's probably not the answer. Ask the stakeholder to submit formal change requests before they consider their input. There is no formal change requests on an Agile project. You can see the correct one. Question. After completing a sprint, the Agile team conducts a session to reflect on what went well, what didn't, what can be improved upon. A stakeholder who is new to Agile asks whether this meeting is part of the project planning. What should you do? Explain that this is a retrospective. Clarify the meeting as sprint review. Identify the meeting as part of the release planning. Describe the meeting as a sprint planning session. Best answer here, guys, is going to be A. That is correct. So retrospective is when they look back on what happened in the sprint, what went right, what went wrong, what should they improve upon. A sprint review is reviewing the product that was made during the actual sprint with the customer. Release planning is planning to what's going to be included in what release. Sprint planning session is determining what will get done in the next sprint. This is generally done by the team. Question. A project manager facilitates a retrospective by drawing a boat heading towards a goal line, with sticky notes representing wind that pushes the boat forward and anchors that slows it down. The team uses this visual to discuss enablers and blockers with collaboration game of this. It's a pretty easy one. I mean, there's only one here with boat here, but I did add this one onto here because I still want you guys to know the definition and understand what the sailboat is. It's not pruning the product tree. This is drawing a tree and then starting to group items together. Remember, the future is seeing what went well and what went wrong by trying to envision what the future would look like. It's not boat mapping either. That's not a real thing. Sailboat is the one that we did cover in the course. Making C, best answer. Question. During a strategy session, a stakeholder suggests adding flashy new features to surprise users, even though some basic functions still aren't working reliable. The Agile project manager wants to help the team balance customer satisfaction with value delivery by better categorizing features. What should the Agile PM do? Use Kano analysis to identify which features are must-have, satisfiers, and delighters. Defer all suggested features until the backlog is completely cleared. Ask the stakeholders to submit a change request form for further evaluation. Shift all team focus to innovation features to boost customer enthusiasm. Best answer here. Notice you want to help the team balance satisfaction and value-driven. Better categorizing the feature, and if you're better categorizing them, Kano is one of the best ways to categorize them as must-have or delighters, things that would be great to have, and so on. You shouldn't just defer them. Part of the question is about categorizing them. There's no change request. There's no formal change request in an Agile project. Shift focus to innovation features. No, let's categorize it. D does not answer the question. A does. Making A the best answer because that's the one that gives you the ability to categorize those features. Question. An Agile project manager is coaching a newly formed development team. The team expresses uncertainty about how to divide the work and asks the project manager to assign tasks. Instead, the project manager encourages the team to collaborate, discuss priorities, and determine how best to organize themselves. What principle is the Agile PM promoting? Centralized control to ensure consistency, team self-organization and empowerment, product owner directions of all development tasks, fixed team roles. Best answer here, guys, is going to be team self-organization. Why is that? Because you notice the PM here is encouraging the team to collaborate, discuss priorities, and discuss how best to organize themselves. This is the definition of a self-organizing, self-directing team. It's not a centralized control. It's more decentralized as we depend on the team. There's nothing here but the product owner. There's no fixed role here. There's no hierarchy as the team basically manages themselves. Best answer, B. Question. During a stakeholder onboarding session, a senior executive expresses skepticism about Agile. Question and how it adds value compared to traditional methods. The Agile project manager wants to highlight some of the key benefits of using an Agile approach. What should the Agile PM do? Explain that Agile ensures teams follow a fixed process and minimizes feedback loops to reduce complexity. Emphasize that Agile avoids involving customers throughout the lifecycle to streamline decision making. Highlight that Agile delivers all value at the end of the project but allow changes in the early stages. Describe how Agile involves customer throughout the cycle, encourages continuous feedback, welcome changes, and delivering value early. Okay, so you have to choose the best one here that really represents the values of Agile. And the best thing here is that the greatest thing about Agile is the heavy customer involvement, great feedback, we always welcome changes, and we deliver value early. Notice, highlight that Agile delivers all value at the end. That is traditional project. That is incorrect for C. B says, Agile avoid. No, Agile wants customers. A, explain Agile in short teams follows. There's no fixed process, as the team uses the best process at the correct time. Make D the correct answer. Question. During a backlog refinement session, a developer proposes adding an advanced reporting dashboard that wasn't requested but could impress the client later. The feature would require significant effort and delay completion of basic reporting functions the client has explicitly prioritized. What should you do? Recommend completing the basic reporting first and then deferring the advanced until it's requested. Encourage the developer enthusiasm and assign the dashboard to an upcoming sprint. Add both reporting features to the next sprint to give the clients multiple options. Approve development of the dashboard to demonstrate added value. The best thing here we can do is aid. Now, here's why. Because you don't want to waste effort and time for something that the customer may or may not value. If the customer has not requested it, shouldn't do it because then you'll be wasting time. This is called unnecessary features. And it's part, if you look in lean development, this would fall in there and you don't want that. Encourage developers no, don't encourage it. Don't do it. All of these here, B and D, basically is doing it. And you don't want to add that in there. And you don't even want to bring it up to the client. Unless the client really brings it up, don't add it in. If not, it's considered waste. Question. The product manager and stakeholders have each shared their vision for the project, but the development team seems unclear about what they're building and why. As the project manager, what should you do to promote a shared vision? Facilitate a collaborative session to align all parties on a unified product vision. Ask the product manager to document and distribute a finalized version of the vision. Proceed with the current backlog and let clarity evolve during the iteration. Delegate the clarification of the vision to Scrum Master to present at the next stand-up. All right, best answer here, guys, is going to be the one that brings everybody together, have them hopefully meet face-to-face and solve the problem, making A the correct answer. You don't want to just have the product manager to document and finalize. Then what about everybody else? Maybe they're not understanding the vision. You want to just proceed and let clarity evolve. The team should know what they do before they make the product. Delegate the clarification of the vision to the Scrum Master. No, the clarification of vision should come from your product owner, from your product manager, these types of folks, not just from the Scrum Master or the Agile PM. Question: an XP team is preparing to begin a new iteration. The customer explains which functionality they want delivered, and the developers begins breaking the functionality into tasks and estimating the efforts based on their capacity. What XP planning practices are there in? Iteration planning, release planning, sprint agreement, backlog refinement. Best answer here, guys. The iteration planning iterates, or the sprint planning pushes out the sprint or iteration backlog. This is when the team determines what will get done in the sprint based on their capacity, based on their velocity of how much work they can get done or how quickly. Release planning, this determines what gets done in a release. Sprint grooming, this should be more like backlog grooming. There's really nothing like that. Backlog refinement is when they go in and reprioritize, removing things, or backlog grooming. Nope, put an X there. That doesn't answer that question. But backlog refinement or grooming is when you add and remove things to the product backlog, reprioritizing as features are added and removed. Question: during an Agile project, the stakeholder asks how the team is tracking risk over time. The team presents a risk burndown chart showing the decreasing severity of identified risks from June through September. What does the risk burndown chart predominantly demonstrate? The number of risk responses, actions executed during the project, the remaining budget available for risk mitigation, the effectiveness of risk management throughout the project, the percentage of scope at a risk. Well, I know it doesn't show basically three of these things. It does not show how much risk responses, budget, or scope. What it does show is how effectively we're managing risk. Is risk growing or getting smaller as the project is progressing? I can see. Best answer. Question: a project manager is preparing for an agile transformation across a large organization. During early discussions, senior leaders express concerns about the risk of failure. Managers fear losing control, and users question whether all necessary features will be delivered. What should the project manager do to address these concerns? Avoid discussing Agile until a successful pilot project. Reassign skeptical stakeholders to other projects. Provide tailored Agile education to all stakeholders to address concern. Shift Agile to a hybrid approach to minimize resistance. Now, I did go over this with you in the course. You have to become an Agile advocate. Promote Agile at all levels, or as much as you could. That's what C is about. So what is C about? Training and being the Agile advocate. When people don't know Agile, then they have misinterpretations that there is a high risk of failure or they're losing control. Technically, they're gaining more control. All features, we actually deliver the most valuable features. So there's a lot of misinterpretation about Agile if you're not trained on it. Avoid discussing Agile. No, you should discuss it a lot. You don't want to reassign. Don't kick people off a project because of knowledge. Shift from Agile to hybrid. No, don't shift it. Train people, and maybe then you would do a hybrid. But shift their focus, shift their education on Agile. They can see the best answer. During an Agile project, stakeholders express concern that their feedback is not being integrated until late in the development cycle. What should the Agile practitioner do to avoid this? Involve stakeholders from the beginning and use iterative reviews to gather feedback. Schedule a stakeholder review session after each sprint to collect feedback only once per cycle. Ask the product owner to deliver a detailed requirements doc up front. Increase the length of each sprint to allow more time for reviewing. Now, the best way to get user feedback is not, C is not bad, but it says only once per cycle. It's continuous. We want feedback on a continuous, we want to integrate feedback on a continuous basis. The product owner deliver a detailed requirements doc. We don't have requirements doc, we do have a product backlog. Increase the length. You don't just go and increase the sprint planning, but what you should do is gain more feedback, making A best answer. Question: during a team planning session, 2 senior developers disagree on the best technical approach for an upcoming feature. As tension rises, the project manager intervenes by guiding, keyword, the conversation towards mutual understanding and helping the team explore compromises without escalating. This is the key. Remember, conflict is good, but you can't let it escalate. What soft skills is being demonstrated? Active listening, negotiation, emotional intelligence, or facilitation. Best thing here, guys, is going to be you're facilitating a meeting between them. You're not just actively listening. This is taking no action. This is just listening. You're not negotiating or coming up with some kind of solution here. You're just guiding things. Emotional intelligence is more, this is what people would use to understand how your emotions are affecting others and vice versa. So that doesn't apply here, but what you're doing is facilitating or guiding the conversation between the 2 developers, making D the best answer. Question: during the backlog refinement, a product owner uses numerical labels like priority 1, priority 2, and priority 3 to sort upcoming features. However, several stakeholders argue that almost every priority is 1. The Agile project manager wants to recommend a better method to improve clarity and reduce ambiguity. What should you do? Ask the team to rank all priority 1 based on complexity. Recommend using Moscow to categorize. All right, must have, should have, could have. Suggest removing prioritization and letting the team pull all work as capacity allows. Create a weight scoring system using risk, value, and effort to automate item ranking. There's 2 good answers on this one. So the best answer here is going to be B. There was 2 good. It was either B or D. Here's why. You should have gotten away with A. Ask the team, because this is where the team prioritizes. And C is the team prioritizes. You notice some people went with C here. Create a weight system. I like, for example, value is good, but effort to automate item ranking? No, that's not something the customer would know. This part here is what kills D. Our effort to do the work. We shouldn't prioritize work just based on effort and whether you can automate it or not. We may use risk sometimes. Have the risk adjusted backlog. So risk and value is good, but effort and automating no good. So the only other answer was another prioritization method. Instead of using 1 and 2, maybe we can just use must have, should have, could have. This would be a better way than using priority 1, 2, and 3, making B the best of these answers. I want to point out that on this exam, it's not about choosing a correct answer, it's choosing the best answer. So even though it's not 100% right, as long as it's more right than the other answer, you're good. Question: a project manager noticed that some stakeholders are unclear about the project's definition of done, and they're hesitant to provide input. What should the PM do to foster better engagement and alignment? Wait until the end of the sprint to review what done means. Remove hesitant stakeholders. Frequently clarify what done looks like. Send stakeholders a detailed document explaining all definition. Done can change over time. There's a reason why we should, on a consistent basis, define what done looks like. So frequently defining and clarifying the statement of done. Don't wait until the end of the sprint to review what done looks like, because then they can complete work that doesn't match requirements. Remove hesitant stakeholders from planning sessions. You don't want to just remove people from a planning session. All right? Don't remove stakeholders. Don't fire. Send stakeholders a detailed document explaining all definitions. They should be sending that to you, not vice versa. You shouldn't explaining. You want them to define what the definition of done is. Question: while reviewing a failed project, executives noticed that many major defects were only discovered during final testing, leading to costly rework and delays. The Agile project manager is asked to recommend a strategy to reduce the cost of change in future project. What should the PM do? Increase testing resources during the final phase to catch issues faster. Postpone major design major design discussions until more data is available. Encourage incremental delivery and earlier testing to identify problems when they're cheaper to fix. Use a traditional risk register to document risk and review them quarterly. Now, the best answer here is definitely to use incremental delivery, and the earlier the test, the faster you find the problem. And the earlier in the development cycle that problems are found, the cheaper to fix it. That is a given fact. I did show you a chart in the course on this. So you want to make sure you understand that concept. Now, increase testing resources during the final. You want to test before the final. Postpone major design until more data is available. Never postpone anything on a project. Part of the Agile mindset. Use a traditional risk register. That's okay to use. Agile could have risk registers. No problems with that. But you don't review them quarterly. You review them consistently. You can see. Best answer. Question. An Agile project manager is working with a finance department that is new to Agile and is used to approving funding in large upfront allocations. The project manager wants to introduce Agile concurrent development principles to help the department better understand how budgeting and delivery work in Agile environments. What should the PM do? Explain that Agile uses incremental funding, steady delivery of value, ongoing validation with users, early integration, and continuous adaptation to change. Okay. Recommend deferring integration and risk assessment until just before release to reduce overhead. Suggest Agile avoids customer validation and instead focus on delivering large portion of work for executive review. Emphasize that Agile team follows a fixed budget and scope once approved to avoid disruptions from ongoing feedback. Well, I know which one I'm going to eliminate right off the bat. All right, I'm going to eliminate D right here because Agile does not follow a fixed budget, and it does follow a fixed budget somewhat, but it doesn't follow a fixed scope once approved. That's for sure. Suggest Agile avoids customer validation. No, it does that on a continuous basis. Recommend deferring integration. You should never defer a thing. And you should do risk assessment continuously. Now, A is the correct one because it does use incremental funding. You don't have to fund it all up front because you're funding it in increments. It does do a steady incremental value push out. You're always validating with your users, and you do get that early integration, making A the correct answer.